all right, at that time point, we'd closed Bagram, we'd closed Kandahar, we'd closed Camp Bastion. And like, to my knowledge, like in Mazar-e Sharif, like those are your biggest pieces of concrete to go out there and operate on. And obviously their FOBs and the C-17 can do some crazy stuff. Can you talk to me, like, what would it entail if at that time period would you have to take, what would the footprint kind of look like? What would an op look like?
From my knowledge, since I didn't actually plan what they were planning to do, but just basic understanding of it is you first have to secure a base, whatever piece of pavement that you decide to go back to. If we even had a presence there to begin with, you have to secure it. So probably AP called it maybe an exfil. He might have used a different word, but that is when we pull out of a base and take all our people and leave. You almost look at it as a brand new problem set, almost like you're reopening. So you're opening a base. We had to do that in Syria a couple times, and I got to plan that effort. But it is where you're going to a brand new location. All of your assumptions of what exists, the runway environment, the different entities that you have there, your friendlies, your foes, like you have to look at all of it like it is a brand new piece of canvas, because you can't bring any of your old assumptions in. Things have changed. You haven't been there. You don't have presence there. So what supplies you may have had there, you don't know if they exist. The runway environment that may have existed before could be different. There could be different things. There could be potholes on their runway, to just small, finite things. The perimeter might be taken down. So you have to look at everything from a brand new point of view and a fresh lens, or else it could bite you later. The assumption that you make about it could be that limb fact that lets that entire operation down. We work extensively with the Army when reopening fields like that. So it is a joint planning effort between the two entities. That's why this planning effort was done on an Army installation instead of on an Air Force installation. And you go down there and, no kidding, work hand in hand with those officers and say, okay, this is what we're looking at. What do you need for your ground scheme maneuver? How can we bring in the different chocks, so the different airplanes in? What order do you need them in? There is a lot that goes into it, but very basically fresh set of lens. So like it is a brand new airfield that you've never been to. You need to look at what's available and can you even land there, and then what teams you need to bring with you. So the Army and then any Air Force teams you need to establish operations there. And then how robust is it going to be as well? Is it just a quick into the field and then out covertly, or is it, hey, we're going to establish an actual base here and build it up again? So that really depends on how many aircraft you bring and what type. You could need smaller aircraft for just a quick op, or you're going to need a lot of heavier aircraft if you're bringing in multiple trains of supplies and everything like that. So it is robust, to say the least, but it is an awesome opportunity too.
Yeah, it's kind of wild. I imagine some Rangers are probably involved with that process, but it is something just like the basics. Like in my mind, I'm like, I did ask AP this for the last mission, but you know, like what if, you know, an engine has an oil problem and you can't take off? Like, how are you getting parts and pieces in there? Are you leaving a plane? Like all those things just with like the aircraft, let alone, yeah, like the runway. Now we don't know. I've had a buddy who had an emergency landing in the air show world who he put it down on a grass strip that was still in the database. Well, it turns out the airfield had been closed and no one updated the database. And there was a roof from a house that had gotten blown on there from a hurricane. So an otherwise like safe emergency landing, and then you find a roof down the way. So not where you want to be in life, and those things definitely can happen. Can you talk to me? So you're at a wedding, this thing is kind of kicking off, you get back home, and then you launch out on a Bravo launch. Where were you going? Like, or did you know, like, hey, we're flying to Afghanistan or somewhere in the Middle East, and just kind of waiting to find out? Like, what did that look like in that planning process and that actual mission?
So I knew that we were flying to Afghanistan, and by the time we launched, the airfield had just been overran. So we were aware of what was going on. There was some televised, I would say televised intel almost is the best way to put it. And then there was the actual intel that we were receiving from ground forces of this is what is going on at the field. We knew that we were going out there, but we didn't know exactly what day. So as a crew force, we sent a bunch of crews out on one C-17 from Cord at least. And then multiple bases did the same thing. They deployed them forward, but those crews didn't necessarily have jets to follow with them. So they were pre-staged in front of us. So as the jets moved through the system, the crews could stop, take crew rest while the jets kept going forward to create almost a train of going downrange and then coming back with humans, individuals, cargo, whatever we needed to exfil out of there. So for our jets, we knew that we were going to go to Afghanistan, but our frag was literally just to go to Charleston, spend the night, and then continue on the next day. So all 4 jets that morning when we launched, we thought we were spending the night at Charleston. The thing that I like to tell some of the students that I talked to at the weapons school about this is that when we launched, they told us just to get out there and get downrange. But as a crew member, you need what is min equipment or min force in your own book of what do I take with me on this mission? Now, every air crew, every pilot, and every crew member has, hey, these are the basic items that I need to go on this mission. It could be night vision goggles. For us, since we are carrying passengers, we usually have to take guns for that. It could be our tactics, so our secret laptops or anything like that we need to prepare us. So when I was talking to my crew members, which was kind of uncanny because we had a mainly female crew, which there's about 20% or female pilots out there, but see, crew members, it was really funny when we got our alert text because we didn't necessarily know who we were flying the mission with. We just knew that they were in our squadron and that the scheduler was putting us in crew. So it was myself, Meg, who was another instructor pilot, and then we had Caitlin, who was a brand new co-pilot, but she had just got back from a deployment. So when we looked at our crew qualifications as pilots, it worked out really nicely because I could be the aircraft commander and almost a mission commander just for our little piece, while Meg could help Caitlin and teach her while still taking care of like the normal admin of the C-17. So it freed up our brain space a lot. And then we had 2 load masters with us too, 1 female, 1 male, and all of the crew together worked beautifully. So we took off, we headed out to Charleston, we landed, and there was 3 other ships behind us, as I talked about. When we landed, I had a friend walk up to me who was a newly graduate of the C-17 weapons school, and he was a class behind me, walked out to the jet, and he's like, hey, how you doing? We're turning your jet right now, and we're going to load up the 82nd onto the back of it. I was like, awesome, how you doing? Are you going to do that with the next 3 jets landing? He's like, yep. I was like, okay. So the first thing that we did is we needed to take care of just min essentials. We were all planning to spend the night. We didn't have food. So a lot of them, at least not enough food for an ocean crossing. So we ordered a bunch of pizzas. When I sent some of my load masters to the shop at, get a bunch of Gatorades, just have that ready, and we put it in base ops. So as the crews landed, they could just grab the food, load it up, and then as they were unloading the Army, they were set. So that was like a first thing of just take care of the people to be able to take care of the mission.
Yeah.
And then we got a tactics brief after. So the thing that when our crew alerted and we were set into an actual environment of like, you guys will launch, I told my load masters and the other pilots, I was like, hey guys, the things that we need to take off, no kidding, are we need our night vision goggles, we need our tactics, and then we need our guns. Those are the 3 things in my mind that I was like, we can't leave these at home because I need these to operate. I'm not going to go out into Afghanistan without those 3 things. And I was thankful because you had about 30 crews that launched before you just on one single jet, 1 or 2 jets to pre-position. So a lot of those things were gone already from the base. We were lucky to get guns. They got in there first, so we were able to get those. We had our NVGs, our night vision goggles, already assigned to us, so thankfully we took those as well. But the tactics that was the hard part. And I was fortunate enough that we have the weapons school next to us in McCord, and so I walked over there and asked them, I was like, hey guys, I know that you're home stationed right now and not in Ellis. Can I take one of your secret laptops with me to go downrange? And they were awesome. And they're like, absolutely, take it. What do you need loaded on it? So we walked out the door with our min equipment set. And that was a blessing because of later on, we actually were able to fly a mission where other crews couldn't because they didn't have this equipment. So that was like a big thing to us right there.